And now, introducing a man who only wanted me to call Sam Sessoms just to hear me say the name Sam Sessoms with my lisp. Why not CCBC Essex next time, jerk? He is Glenn Clark.
Good morning, it's Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn, he's Paul. Papa Cass is here. I've got her on another assignment today. She has to pay attention. She has to... We were talking about, we had a chat with her... What is that? What is the title of the person? Your professor? Your advisor? What's the... We need her mic on. See? You're not the only one. Other people make mistakes too.
My professor.
Your professor.
Yeah.
And your professor said, well, what's somewhere where Cass can improve? And I said, well, we just had a conversation about this. We just talked about focus. We can all improve in that department, frankly. So I'm going to force her. I'm going to force her hand in terms of focus today because she's got to be doing something else instead of running the board. A lot to do on the program today. Coming up a little bit later on, perhaps you've heard of Grayson Rodriguez. He is the top pitching prospect in all of baseball. He, of course, is, within the Orioles system currently with the Norfolk Tides. We're assuming that at some point soon we're going to see him in Baltimore. We're going to chat with him about what are the final things he wants to accomplish before he makes his Major League debut. That's coming up a little bit later on. Just a few minutes, Delegate Brooke Lierman is going to join us. We want to talk to her about HB 896 and some other... I did not know, for example, that there was another sports safety measure, a bill that passed in the legislative session that she had sponsored and authored. It's the Elijah Gorham Act, named after, unfortunately, the Mervo football player who passed away tragically a year ago. And it speaks to safety measures that still needed to be taken at the high school level. We remember that Delegate Lierman co-sponsored the Jordan McNair Safe and Fair Play Act a couple years ago that brought some important safety measures to the college level. This one expands that to the high school level. We're going to talk to her about that as well. She's also running for comptroller. And, again, that's neat because I'm not fully certain exactly what a comptroller does, but I know it's important, so we'll chat about that. Also this morning, Patrick Stevens will join us as he does every Tuesday, Maryland lacrosse team, because that's what Sam Sessoms, who's interesting to me, players take. So we will talk to Patrick. I got a couple messages myself entirely. But Paul cares very deeply and desperately. As you'll know if you follow him on Twitter, at Paul Valley III, he is very worked up about things that are otherwise innocuous related to the baseball games. So I give him the opportunity to try to sell me on why I should care about something that happened in any particular baseball game. The Orioles dropped the opener out in Oakland last night, but they did not get no hit. Got that going for us, which is nice. Now I turn it over for 60 seconds to our 1-minute man. He is Paul Valley.
All right, so the things that you should care about last night was the pitching from Spencer Watkins and the pitching from Keegan Aiken. Now, Spencer Watkins, he went 5 innings, gave up 1 run, only had the 1 strikeout, doesn't seem to have a wipeout pitch with 2 strikes, got to a lot of 2-strike counts. However, the curveball looks really good, big looping curveball, and he added 2 miles per hour to his average fastball velocity, so that looks good. Orioles need starting pitching in their rotation. He started out strong last year and kind of faded, so we'll take this with a grain of salt, but hopefully it's something that we can look forward to. Keegan Aiken finding his niche in the bullpen. Last night he pitched 2 innings, no hits, no runs, 25 pitches, 21 strikes. I think he's thrown 12 balls all year. In 7 2/3 innings pitched, he has 5 strikeouts and a 0.26 whip. So it looks like he's just attacking the zone and attacking hitters, and maybe he's carving out a role for himself for the future of this team. Not in the rotation, but as a swingman in the bullpen. And when your pitching's bad, when you have young pitching, you need those guys to do it.
All right, so a couple of responses. 1, as always, I allow Paul. He gets it. Look, man, that man can deliver for 1 minute, and I'm not going to stop him. All right, I want to make that very clear. Did that make you care about any of it, Papa Cast? Did you? No?
Yeah, I cared all about it.
Oh, yeah? Look at you. All right,
this is my girl. She's got my back. I'm telling you.
A couple things that jump out at me from last night. 1, were people, I just because I wasn't fully paying attention, were people at all worked up about when they pulled Spencer Watkins, considering,
some people were, but he in that 5th inning, he was kind of getting hit hard, and I thought it was appropriate. At 67 pitches.
Well, and the 6th inning went so well that...
Yeah, that was a debacle. I've been saying it. I watched him on opening day Ramon Arias, 2 routine ground balls, and he bounced throws. Ryan Mountcastle saved him one. Mountcastle couldn't save him last night. He doesn't have the arm to play third base, but Brandon Hyde loves him some Rugi Odor. And he has to put him in the lineup day in and day out.
I don't know if you know, but the only reason why they scored a run last night was because of your boy Rugi Odor.
Actually, it was because Austin Hayes hit a double
to
score Odor from first base.
Yes, but he was the only one that got on base at that point. And then Hayes got on base because the guy couldn't get whoever. I don't even know who the guy was that was playing right field that couldn't catch the ball.
Seth Brown.
Sure, if you say so.
I'll tell you, I would have caught that ball.
I think most of us would have, but I have no problem with the fact that Austin Hayes was credited with a double because we needed a hit. So if he hadn't been credited with a double, I don't know if we would have gotten a hit. So it is what it is. I don't have an issue with it, but the only reason they scored a run is because Rugi Odor got on base.
I tweeted out last night. I don't care who the player is. If Spencer Watkins and Rougned Odor,
I know people are they were waiting for this moment for you to say I'm okay with it.
If
I want to make it clear, it's okay if the players are good.
If Rougned Odor and Spencer Watkins have solid seasons, I don't care what your name is. I don't care who you are. As long as you play well, I'm good with it. I'm still not convinced that either one of them are going to be.
Well, you're just selling me on Spencer Watkins. You used your 1 minute that you get that you're capable of. To sell me on Spencer Watkins.
He pitched the best that he's pitched in an Orioles uniform last night, and I'm willing to see what he can do from here. But you have to do it more than once for me. If he can do this for a month, if he can pitch to a 4.5 ERA for a month, okay, that's a number 5 starter on any big league team. So I'm okay with it. I'm not inclined to believe that he can.
I'm not worked up about Spencer Watkins. To me, last night is the perfect example of nope, none of this matters. None of this matters whatsoever, and it's a bummer. It is a little embarrassing that you get your butt kicked by the second worst team in baseball's B squad. Like. That's a bit embarrassing, but come on, it's baseball. These
Orioles
things happen.
can't hit, apparently.
Well, they can't. I mean, we know that.
Well, but we thought that they could.
Yeah,
but
we thought that was going to be their strength.
Even the guys that can hit aren't hitting.
Aren't hitting, yes. Now, some of it has been bad luck for Trey Mancini. I understand that. And, there was a little bit of bad luck for Cedric Mullins in the beginning of the season. But there are certainly issues. Now, it's also a long season. And some of these guys' games are a bit more predicated on power, and so as the year goes on and the weather warms up, it's more likely that comes back into play. Right. So I'm not going to overreact to any of that either.
This
so
too shall
even
pass.
the couple of guys that I actually concern myself about that are on this roster currently, I'm not worked up about any of that. This is what happens when you're a bad baseball team. When you're a bad baseball team, you face a team that's decimated by COVID, and they're bad to begin with, and you can't beat them anyway because you're a bad baseball team. This is how bad baseball teams work. Who's pitching tonight?
They haven't announced it yet, but I'm inclined to believe it's Chris Ellis because he's on the taxi squad
who
and
is
he's
that?
in Oakland.
I remember Chris Ellis from the Penn.
He served himself well last year, sub-3 ERA.
Sure.
6 starts.
Sure. We'll go with that.
He's probably like another Spencer Watkins.
I mean, he's a 4A guy. That's what he is. But God bless, he gets to masquerade as a baseball player again, and that's I'm happy when guys get those opportunities.
Like Rougned Odor.
No, he's actually a baseball player, Paul. He's been doing this for some time. I don't know if you remember. He has the biggest hit of the season.
Now it's just tongue in cheek for me.
No, I'm not sure if you remember when that happened.
There.
No, last night, most certainly. Nothing about that sticks out as having mattered whatsoever for me.
I have a confession to make.
Yeah?
When they gave up those
you
4
bailed?
runs in the
Did
6th,
you bail?
I was already falling asleep.
Oh.
I went to bed.
Oh, look at you.
I opened my eyes in the 8th
Give it
inning,
up.
and it was
What kind of,
5-1.
I thought you were a fan. I
tried,
you were
man.
a fan.
I tried my darndest. But something about having to get up at 6:30 every morning makes that a little difficult.
I think we could bring both of us down slightly today. Just slightly. I think we could bring both of our levels down a bit. You can't get me to get worked up about it. You just can't. You couldn't get me to get worked up. I did poke in. I was actually mesmerized by the Warriors last night. Oh, my God. They did this bit where they didn't put their best players on the floor for like the first 18 minutes of the game, and they were just sort of like waiting, like, we know. Don't worry. Don't worry, it's coming. They fell behind by 10. Everybody's freaking out like, oh, man, the Warriors could be in trouble. And then they waited, and then they were like, okay, now here's the lineup with Curry, Thompson, Poole, and Draymond. Good luck. And then they just decimated the Denver Nuggets, who I'm not sure if you're aware have the MVP of the NBA. Decimated them, kicked their asses. It was like watching the Harlem Globetrotters against the Washington Generals, man. The Warriors with Jordan Poole playing like this are a special kind of dangerous. And again, as a Phoenix Suns fan, that's particularly concerning for me because this is like my best chance of ever experiencing joy of as a basketball fan. And man, watching the Warriors last night and realizing they can put those 4 dudes on the floor whenever they want together, and what the F do you do about it? Because who the hell do you leave? A couple times last night, the Nuggets like, well, I guess we have to leave Thompson. Pfft, all he does is just knock down tray after tray after tray after tray, and you're like, oh, right, he's one of the greatest players in basketball history. And Jordan Poole's playing better than any of them. It's nuts. It's nuts what they're bringing to the table.
Steph Curry, 30-plus points under 25 minutes. That dude can hit a shot from anywhere on the court on either side.
But that's not even impressive for Steph Curry anymore.
Yeah,
that's just what you expect.
In
like,
less than
he's
25
Steph Curry.
minutes, he's a monster.
Yeah, he's insane. He's insane. They're just so bloody loaded. I know the Suns are a better defensive team than the Nuggets, so like you hope that they've got better answers, but I don't feel great about it.
It doesn't get you excited to have Suns Warriors in the
I
Western
think
Conference Finals?
Suns Warriors in the Western Conference Finals would be just wonderful. I mean, it would be a bonanza for basketball.
I'd actually watch that
it would
series.
It would be the type of ratings boost that you would. I mean, that is compelling as F. It is so unbelievably compelling for the sport. The idea of getting Suns Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. I just don't feel good about it. You know what else I don't feel good about? Picking the Raptors to cover the spread. Pah! God. Brutal. Coming up a little bit later on today, we'll have Simply the Bets. Simply the Bets is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. We do it every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. We'll be joined by Aaron Oster from out in Vegas at VEASAN, as well as Leon Twyman, the assistant GM of the FanDuel Sportsbook. And I will try to pretend like I never said that I thought that the Raptors could cover 1.5 games. They ain't doing that. I mean, again, the Sixers won't have Tybull in Toronto, so maybe there's a chance the Raptors could figure out. But they look like a mess. And the Sixers look really good. Like, I mean, the Sixers look like a team that's figuring it out, and they're going to be a threat to win the East and make a push towards an NBA title. So that's frustrating for me. Also frustrating last night, the Jazz look like the safest bet in human history, right? Mavericks don't have Luka Doncic. No way they could win. No freaking way they could win. He's their only player. How could they possibly win without Luka Doncic? And Jalen Brunson came along. What do you know about Jalen Brunson, Papa Cass? What do you know about him, huh? Yeah, nothing is the answer, isn't it? Yeah, nothing. Nothing's the answer.
Not a thing.
Yeah, well, you might want to start learning about him. 41 effing points. 41! They made 22 threes.
That's crazy.
Not that I'm bitter or anything. Thankfully, I just turned around and put all my money on the Warriors afterwards, and I got it all back. So I'm not too angry about that. And when I say all my money, yes, I mean the $20 that I have to my name. I put all of it on the Warriors. It was not like if you were looking for competitive games in the NBA playoffs, the only one that was competitive was the Jazz Mavericks game. So it was kind of a disappointing night in that way. But if you were looking for exhibitions and displays, my God, the Warriors were mesmerizing, just mesmerizing as a basketball team. The way they move the ball, man, that's what makes the Suns so compelling is the ball movement. Oh, it's that breathtaking stuff that we remember from the early stages of this Warriors run where the ball would just keep moving and it would be dizzying, and you would just be like, what sport are these guys playing? Because all you're used to in the NBA is having the ball die in one player's hands until he either drives or takes a shot. The Warriors, they just keep moving the basketball in order to find the open man. It is so effing compelling. I enjoyed that greatly.
You ever see the Warriors movie?
Yes, that's what you have to offer this morning.
Yes.
That's what you have to offer. There's a dynamite observation from our guy, Paul.
How often do you think they play that classic?
Constantly.
Warriors?
They do it constantly, Paul. They do it constantly.
I don't.
That's what Paul had. That's what you guys are wondering what Paul brought to the table this morning.
It's the NBA, man.
It's the playoffs. It matters now, Paul.
We got Orioles baseball, man.
No, that doesn't matter.
It matters to me.
Yeah, I understand that. That might speak to a problem. Like, you might want to consider this. One is wonderful, compelling theater and people competing for a championship. The other is an baseball game played in front of 12 people at the worst stadium that's ever existed.
At 10 o'clock at night.
Seek help. Get things in order, man. Get your house in line.
Well, I got a show to host this weekend.
It's on the oh man, I got a whole conversation. It's fine. God bless you. You can pay attention to. You know what I did? Because I absolutely was flipping between the two until I realized one was not compelling whatsoever and the other was extraordinarily compelling. And then I said, I'm going to watch the one that's compelling. I'm not going to spend any more time with something that is in no ways entertaining, compelling, or meaningful whatsoever. And I'm going to probably say that many more times during the course of the next few months while one sport competes for a championship and the Orioles don't do that. They do something else altogether.
I did that once before the West Coast game, and I completely missed Stevie Wilkerson earning his way into the Hall of Fame. And
right.
I told myself never again, and then last night.
Truly breathtaking, captivating moment that no one else on the face of the planet knows ever happened.
It's still history. He's still in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, he's not in the Hall of Fame.
His name is in the Hall of Fame for being the only position player to earn a
his
save.
memorabilia went to the Hall of Fame.
But his name's in there.
Well, I don't even know if it's on display anymore. It might not be on display anymore. They put things on display for a little while, and then they put other things on display.
Damn, I thought they kept it in there.
No, how big would the building have to be to keep every piece of memorabilia on display forever? It would have to be far bigger than that. From every little weird, quirky anomaly in baseball history, no offense to Stevie Wilkerson, good guy and all, but that's not actually meaningful. It's an anomaly. It's a quirk. It's not actual history.
So you're saying that Jeff Manto's 4 consecutive home runs in 95 aren't still there?
I'm going to guess that didn't last very long. I'm going to guess that was on display for
now I have no reason
to go. Yeah, I know. Why would you go to the Hall of Fame?
It was the Jeff Manto.
I get it. It's definitely the reason why you go to the Hall of Fame is to see something from Jeff Manto. That's what everybody always says when they get there. They arrive in Cooperstown. They demand. They walk up to the hey,
where's a Manto display?
Manto or nothing. Drove all the way to Cooperstown. I better get my Manto fix. I remember those days. That was a fun time.
He was a solid little player till he got hurt. He got hurt and came back.
Let's not oversell that either.
He was having a nice season until he got hurt.
He was okay. He had a nice stretch of at-bats.
And then he got hurt.
Yeah, well.
And was not the same.
It was all over for him. Orioles and Athletics again tonight out in Oakland, the second game of that set. Somebody asked me yesterday why is that I don't talk about visits, like players that we find out for the draft are visiting the Ravens. Because I've told you a billion times, it's irrelevant. It does not. The Ravens don't exclusively. You learn nothing from who their visits are with. Sometimes they purposely do visits as smokescreens. Sometimes they do everything in their power to make sure you don't know that a certain player is visited. Like, Lamar Jackson once upon a time. It means nothing. It is irrelevant. Say, well, but it's interesting to see what kind of players. Nope. Nope, it's not. No, it is not. You learn nothing from it. Other than they're visiting. That's the extent of what you learn today. Dalvin Cook's little brother visited the Ravens. Cool. Neat. Does that mean the Ravens are in the market for a running back? Maybe. Maybe not. We know they were interested in Melvin Gordon, at least enough to bring him in for a visit. They're a team that runs the ball a lot, and they were decimated when 2 running backs got hurt a year ago, so it makes sense for them to want to have another running back on the roster that they believe could play. That would make sense. Does that mean it's going to be somebody they draft or someone they draft early? Nope. Not necessarily. Could it be? Sure, it could be. I just don't waste my time. I don't waste my time with the press conference. I don't waste my time with visits. You want to believe you're learning something, but you ain't learning anything. So that's the reason why it is that I don't discuss it. All right. Because of her schedule, she's actually an important person. We're not. We had to do this a little bit earlier on today. Just actually a quick reminder. The Baltimore Police Department, they are looking for some folks. Still, you can join a proud new generation of Baltimore police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good, bpdrecruit.org. Let's try to make ourselves smarter by chatting with Delegate Brooke Lierman right here on Glenn Clark Radio. We've gotten to know our next guest over the last couple of years. She was instrumental, a co-sponsor of the Jordan McNair Safe and Fair Play Act, and there was some more sports-related legislation that was on the docket during this year's legislative session. We want to talk to her about that. And she's running for comptroller as well, which is great because I'm looking forward to finding out what a comptroller does. Joining us now, she is our friend Delegate Brooke Lierman,
back with us here on GCR. Delegate, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here again.
It's great to chat with you again. Let me start, if I could. We'll go back to the Jordan McNair Act, because I remember chatting with you then about how the NIL side of it, the idea was, let's push the NCAA to action so that Maryland doesn't have to be a state that does this independently, that this should be something that exists. And, of course, we know that states like Maryland passing these bills did push the NCAA to action. There has since been some pushback. People are unhappy. Hey, my favorite player left my school because they could make more money at another school, or the idea that maybe it's not. I assume that nothing about what you've seen has changed your opinion that athletes deserve the right to be able to profit off of their own name, image, and likeness.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, I think, and we've seen now the NCAA move towards that. So, feel very, that we were doing the right thing in Maryland. We were ahead of the curve.
Yep.
And really proud that our athletes have access to their name, image, and likeness to earn income.
The other side of it, of course, was about athlete safety. And, of course, whenever we use the name Jordan McNair, we remember the tragedy that was the University of Maryland. How, in the follow-up to this becoming law, how happy have you been with what's been implemented? Do you feel like the bill did what you wanted to do to prevent further tragedies like the one that the McNair family experienced?
Yeah, I mean, that's so much of what we need to focus on, right, is to learn from tragedy, to help make sure that nobody has died in vain, and that we are learning and doing better for future generations. And certainly Jordan McNair's parents feel very strongly about that. I've worked closely with his father. He started the Jordan McNair Foundation and is working to improve safety standards for our college student athletes and now also for our high school student athletes.
So I bring that up because I know that this year, and it didn't get – yeah, and I remember us talking about it, right? Like that part of tying it in with NIL was good because it got more attention because of it a couple years ago. I feel like this year there wasn't quite as much attention about the Elijah Gorham Act, and I think a lot of people remember the story of Elijah Gorham and what happened, Mervo football player, last fall. Can you tell me about how the Elijah Gorham Act came about in partnership with the Jordan McNair Foundation, and what uniquely this bill was for, it separated from the original Jordan McNair Safe and Fair Play Act?
Sure, absolutely. Jordan's father, Marty, has been working through the Jordan McNair Foundation now on not just college athlete safety standards, but also high school athlete safety standards. And so we began by looking at recently adopted legislation in Florida to heighten safety standards for our high school athletes there, even before the incredibly tragic death of young man Elijah Gorham at a football game here in Baltimore City. And after that, it just became that much more urgent that we really do everything that we can to ensure that there's a plan of action if, when and if tragedy strikes and an emergency befalls our student athletes. And so worked with the McNair Foundation to review what other states were doing, and then talked with some of the experts here in Maryland, namely our athletic trainers, our secondary sports leagues, to talk with them about how we could improve safety standards, ensuring that every school has an emergency action plan so that, people, our coaches, our assistant coaches and trainers know what to do. And there's no missed opportunities, that people know how to react at a moment's notice when there's a tragedy, that they practice that there are, that parents know what's happening, so the parents know what emergency action plans are, and so that there are AEDs and cold water tanks available for every athlete, in every school rather. So there's a lot that we worked on to make sure we can improve things, and we worked closely with Elijah's parents as well, of course, to make sure that we were honoring their son. And, I was really honored to be able to work with them on this legislation in memory of their son and to hopefully prevent future tragedies like what happened with Elijah.
Delegate Brooke Lierman is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Delegate, in everything related to specifically the heat and heat stroke, I remember there was a story last spring, so the spring of 2021, about a lacrosse player whose heart stopped at Loyola Blakefield, and I get that's a private school versus a public school, but
Yep.
there was something, and I can't remember the name of the equipment that they had, that they were able to immediately resuscitate this young man, and he was completely fine in a situation that could have been utterly tragic. Was
Right.
was that story something that you all thought about, and is it important that that type of equipment is available at all public school sporting events as well as private school sporting events?
Yes, absolutely. And, there are also instances around the country where we've seen other instances of that happen. And what we see is that you need not only the equipment, but you need coaches and trainers to be trained to
Mm.
use the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have a plan to use the equipment, right? That's what you really need, all of those ingredients to save somebody's life. And that's what the Elijah Gorham Act is all about. It's about saying, schools need to have sufficient AEDs, those automated external defibrillators, to ensure that they are accessible very quickly from whether it's a football field or a basketball court or a lacrosse field, right? To make sure that they're very easily accessible. You don't have to get a key to unlock them.
Right. We don't have that type of time.
Right, exactly. You don't have that
Yeah.
type of time. You can't go find the principal to
Right.
unlock the case to get the AED, right? It has to be easily accessible. The trainers and coaches have to be trained on how to use it, and they have to have designated roles, right? They have to know, okay, this is the coach who's going to call 911.
Yep.
This is the coach who's going to grab the AED and use it. The trainer's going to be with the other players, right? There needs to be a plan in place, and that's really how you save lives, and that's what the Elijah Gorham Act is all about, which is why I'm so thrilled we were able to pass it.
Well, and it's important too because again, I'm not trying to disparage it, but at a place like Loyola Blakefield, there are assets that maybe make it easier for these things to happen. At every public school in the state, those assets might not quite be the same, and it might be situations where a lot of people are being asked to do a lot of things and being spread quite thin just to make athletics possible. But we can't be doing that at the risk of the health and the safety of the young people in our states.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and parents have the right to expect that.
Yep.
When you sign up to have your child play lacrosse or basketball or track, you are, of course, there's risk in every activity, but you want to know and have faith that the school system where your child attends has the resources at its disposal to do everything necessary to save your child's life, should it be necessary, right? And I mean, we owe that to every parent and to every child who enters our schools. And so, as a mom and as a former high school athlete, I feel very strongly about this these important requirements, and really thrilled to Senator Shelley Hettleman was our state senator who worked with me on it, and really thrilled we were able to work to pass it this year. So, introduced it this year and passed it this year, which was great.
Before I move, because I want to talk to you about a couple other things, but does this, what is the timeline? Like when we talk about AEDs, does this confirm that AEDs are going to be at every school, what does this act tangibly mean for these safety requirements moving forward, and what's the timeline for it?
Yeah, there will be AEDs at every school. Or there already are. In fact, there should be an AED at every school, but now there will be enough to be available within a brief walk, and they cannot be sort of in locked closets, right?
Okay.
This was passed and enrolled, so we're hopeful that the governor will sign the bill, and then it goes into effect on July 1st. So as of July 1st, our local school systems will have to start working with their principals and with their coaches to develop emergency action plans for every single sport, and to ensure that there's sufficient AEDs available for all of the different teams to use easily, and cold water immersion facilities as well.
All right. The other sports-related bill that, for sports fans, it was particularly interesting during this legislative session was HB 896, Delegate, which, of course, I thought meant there was like all this new money that was going to the stadiums, and it was later explained to me, no, they can borrow more money to put towards stadium upgrades. So can you, again, remembering I'm the guy that's not still fully sure exactly what a comptroller does, so remember who you're talking to. Can you explain to me plainly, because, a lot of people panic when they hear numbers like $1.2 billion of public money. that's being spent, like, and they're like, well, what the hell? Or is that how we're supposed to be spending public money? Can you explain exactly what HB 896 means specifically for the downtown stadiums?
Yeah, so it's really exciting for downtown areas and for all sports fans. So basically, what it means is that we are going to increase the amount of either taxable or tax-exempt bonds that the Maryland Stadium Authority may issue. So this is not tax dollars going to, it's not $1.2 billion of tax dollars. It's bonds that the Maryland Stadium Authority can issue. And that means, bondholders buy them, and they're backed by money from the state. But the bond money themselves is $1.2 billion. And that is split evenly between the football and baseball stadiums and the sports facilities related to their operation. And it will be, it'll be up to $600 million at Camden Yards for construction, renovation, related expenses, and same for football, same for M&T Bank. I mean, it's really exciting because this money is long overdue to help really upgrade the areas around the stadium.
Right.
Create more of an entertainment space. Of course, there's already plans to create more of an entertainment district along all of Warner Street, right? We have Top Golf coming in, and there's a theater
venue,
being built
right?
there for concerts, right? It's going to be I'm really excited about it. It's going to be great. I was just at the Orioles game last Friday when they won, and there's going to be even more, more coming to the area, which will be really phenomenal, I think, for fans and for the region.
Delegate, what is important? I guess the question becomes, who the Stadium Authority, of course, represents the state. And does the Stadium Authority have the final say in how the money is spent, or the teams? How are they involved? And I say that because, like, when this was announced, I had people reach out to me and say things like, hey, if we're spending public money, I feel like we should be bringing back the state high school football championship games to the stadium, right? Like that,
right.
that there should be a public benefit to public money that's being spent. And I didn't think that was an unreasonable thought. In fact, I said,
no, not at all.
It makes a lot of sense. So how is this now governed? Now that we know that can be borrowed, who has final say in how the money is spent? How does this work moving forward?
Sure. So the Maryland Stadium Authority, which has a board of directors that's appointed by the governor, will work with both teams to determine how the money is spent. But, sort of setting aside this money, the Camden Yards, it's a publicly owned stadium, unlike the Commander Stadium, right? So I certainly think it's not unreasonable at all to say we should be playing, our high school baseball and softball championship games, in Camden Yards. Absolutely. I think those are the sorts of things that we should really make happen and that are of great public benefit. And I think one of the things that we should get out of having such a beautiful and nationally recognized stadium in our state.
And I understand there was pushback when the Ravens switched to grass because playing so many games is not ideal for the. But I mean, come on, this is a serious investment that we're making. I feel like there's got to be a way to figure out a way to make this possible. I just feel like we got to be capable of that, Delegate.
Totally.
Do you?
But I think it's really exciting. It's great to see, and it'll yield. I think really. I hope with good investment and good oversight from the Maryland Stadium Authority, and of course, I will tell you, here's what the comptroller does, right? When money goes out the door from the state,
right,
the comptroller sits on the Board of Public Works to help make sure that it's being spent well, and that anybody who gets a state contract is upholding their end of the deal, and that we're really getting best value for the state. That's part of an important job of the comptroller. So excited to be able to be there and help make sure this money is really getting best value for all Marylanders.
So let me give you an opportunity to talk about your campaign, because I am being a bit playful when I say that. I kind of know what a comptroller does. I certainly don't know every day-to-day responsibility of a comptroller, but I kind of get it.
Of course. No, it's really exciting. It's one of the comptroller is a fascinating role in Maryland, a really important. It's an important job, right? Helping to be the elected CFO of the state of Maryland. I've served on the budget committees in Maryland, and I'm the chair of the joint pension. No, I just blew it.
Yeah.
So, but it's essential, right, that we have somebody who's really accessible and transparent, accountable, great customer service, getting people their refunds as quickly as possible, and being there to answer questions and help. And I'd love to have a taxpayer advocate office within the comptroller's office, which is something we don't have yet, but other states do. So there's a lot of great work we can do in the comptroller's office. I'm really excited about it.
I know people can follow you. It's at Brooke E. Lierman, Lierman, on Twitter, and it's brookelierman.com is the website for your campaign, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. Just brookelierman.com.
Very good. Delegate Lierman, we wish you well. We always appreciate you taking the time for us. Thank you for explaining all of these things so clearly for people that bitch about sports for a living and don't have to worry about real-life issues. Really appreciate taking the time. Best of luck, and let's chat again soon, all right?
Thank you so much for all you do. Have a good one.
That's Delegate Brooke Lierman, who, again, is running for comptroller. Appreciate her taking the time to lay that all out for us and make it so that even dullards like me can understand it. All right, hey, if you missed it, Stan the Fan had a busy day yesterday. He and Ross Grimsley caught up with former Orioles pitcher Steve Johnson, and then he had another lengthy conversation talking about HB 896 with Tom Kelso, of course, the chairman of the Maryland Stadium Authority. If you missed either of those, find them right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab, or go to PressBoxOnline.com/video for those two conversations. When we come back in, we're going to chat with Patrick Stevens, as we do every Tuesday, talk a little college sports. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Baseball is back, and so is the spring seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. Start with the opener, flash-fried pork belly with our popular Korean No. 2 sauce, and take a bite out of the Crunch Burger, topped with home run sauce, white American cheese, and house-made chips. It also features irresistible options like a baseball-cut sirloin with blue cheese, grilled shrimp with garlic butter, and a strawberry salmon salad. And then there's the closer, the Cracker Jack Sundae with a waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jack. This menu will be gone at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com to find out more. Great food, good sports.
The newest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
If you miss anything, don't forget that you can find whole shows later on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Podcasts. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR on a Tuesday edition of the program. If you're not playing Underdog Fantasy Football, get on it. UnderdogFantasy.com. Download the Underdog app. Use the code PressBox when you make your first deposit up to $100. We will match it with free money for you to play with. It's Underdog Fantasy Football. They've got the daily, the weekly fantasy games you're used to. Plus, you can feel like you're betting, which you still can't do on your phone or on your computer, and that's frustrating here in the state of Maryland. But you can play Underdog and feel like you're betting with player props, parlays, things along those lines. Again, UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog Fantasy app. From our buddy Matt Torper, who checks in and says, I'm like Paul. I somehow care more about a terrible baseball team than the NBA playoffs. That's the consequences of no Baltimore NBA team, I guess. And I think I get so gorged on basketball from the NCAA tournament that I don't have any room left for the sport for a while. Now, that's weird. That's very weird. Like, can you not watch college football in the NFL? Like, I don't get that part of it all. No, I certainly agree. It's why we don't cover basketball during the regular season at all. We don't cover NBA basketball during the regular season at all. With no team here, what would we possibly cover? What would anybody care about? It's the NBA regular season. No one cares. And certainly there is no amount of Wizards fandom within Baltimore that does not exist, no matter how desperately people have wanted it to be the case. There's a minor amount. There is, as I've said a million times, there's a small amount of Capitals fandom. It ain't what the people that are Capitals fans in Baltimore think Baltimore loves the Capitals. That's not remotely true. We have done all of the extensive research that can be done to see if there is any way, because trust me, every company that has anything to do with sports would love to figure out a way to profit off of it. It is a very small number. It's a very minor amount of Capitals fandom that exists.
I feel like most people in Baltimore, it's not that they hate the Capitals, they just don't care.
Oh, no,
that's how I feel.
That's exactly what it is. It's just irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
Like it's overwhelmingly that. There's even less of amount of that for the Wizards. So we just don't cover NBA in the regular season, but in the playoffs, people care because, it's the playoffs. In fairness, it's not all that dissimilar to college basketball during the season. You care about Maryland or you care about your own team locally, but you just don't care about the average person couldn't tell you like who the players are on the Creighton basketball roster, but suddenly we get to the NCAA tournament and people care. So it's not all that dissimilar to that. John Proctor, the only NBA stuff I watch is from Winning Time. Well, that's, you know what? We agree about that. We agree. Oh, I didn't watch Better Call Saul last night. Oh, damn it. I got to get on that.
I didn't either because
I got to get on
were
that.
playing.
Oh, yeah, right.
So
You got to prioritize terrible baseball.
So I recorded it to watch. I also recorded the E60 on Joe Paterno.
Oh, right. Yeah, I do want to watch that. And I believe the Greg Norman 30 for 30 is tonight.
It may be. I'll have to record that too.
I believe that's tonight. All right, joining us now as he does every Tuesday, of course, he covers college sports. You read his stuff in the Washington Post and USA Lacrosse Magazine. You follow him on Twitter at Discourse. He has our buddy Patrick Stevens, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I am well, Glenn. How are you doing?
I'm all right. The Maryland game, I got to watch the majority of it on Saturday, and I found myself saying, it's an example of just how good Maryland is, that they were pushed, they were tested, and they still ultimately ended up winning going away. But did it provide a blueprint for how they could be beatable at some point over the course of the next month?
Well, I think we talked about this a little bit last week, just about, the advantage that this Maryland team has that some of the other ones in the past haven't is a dominant face-off guy. And in the first half, and even if you take the first three quarters, they were basically even in face-offs.
Yep.
And if you're Ohio State, you were probably going to be willing to take that, even with the solid guys that they have, whether it's Ignacio, who didn't play as much in that game, or Drew Blanchard, the Hobart transfer. So I feel like keeping Maryland's offense off the field half the time is part of the formula no matter what, and we saw Ohio State do that. We also saw Ohio State come in with a pretty hot goaltender, too. And the sequence, especially late in the first quarter, was really, I think, the best, possession I've seen a goalie play this season that Skylar Wallen had in that stretch. I think he had 3 saves, and there was a fourth that hit the post in that stretch. And so you got the good goalie, you've got at least breaking even or coming close to it on faceoffs, and so I feel like that's kind of what you take away. I think, too, the thing I'm curious to see, now that we've seen Ohio State give them a good run, we saw Notre Dame give them a solid run, and there's obviously some other teams like Princeton and Rutgers that have played them already. I wonder how teams do the second time around, kind of having a sense of what they're in for, particularly at the offensive end. Because the one thing that we haven't seen is Maryland have a really lousy day there. Like, I feel like that might be the one thing that you can count on no matter what for them, that their passing has been sharp, that they don't commit many turnovers, all that stuff. So, if I'm Ohio State, I feel good that for 45 minutes I played them to a goal, and there's enough there to feel like that if things break your way a little bit and you button up a few other things, that you can pull off. One other thing that's worth mentioning about Ohio State, they kind of reverted to their traditional form, and I thought it was smart. They shortened the game, longer possession.
Right.
The longer you hold the ball, the less time Maryland's offense is going to have it. And so I think shortening the game as much as you can in the shot clock era, there's probably some wisdom in that too against Maryland.
Of course, Maryland continues to prove, though, they don't need to have the ball for that long in order to figure out a way to score some goals. Patrick, I was at the Loyola game, and I know they got a big game tonight. I know I'm assuming that's where you're going to be as they take on Georgetown down in D.C. I say this, like, when I say does it really matter, I think you know what it is that I'm asking. Even if they figure out somehow, and I don't know how they would, but even if they figured out a way to beat Georgetown, is there at all a path left for them to try to get in that large, or is it really just?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be win probably 3 games in a week for them to make it into the tournament. And so at this stage, there's probably an outside chance that they could figure out a way to land the 2 seed, but it's not particularly likely. They'd need a boatload of help in addition to beating both Colgate and Lehigh. So I think catching BU is out of the question at this point. The help they would need would be Army to lose its next 2 games to Navy and to BU, and for them to win their 2 games. And I think that would do it for them to get the number 2 seed. But it's unlikely that they'll get quite that much help. In any case, beating Georgetown would be nice, but it's not going to have the galvanizing effect that it did on their season last year.
Right. That's what I was alluding to. And then on the local front, I know it was a tough one for Towson against Delaware, but very competitive. And I think that the conversation, that Towson's still in the mix, correct, to try to win the CAA and get in?
Well, everybody's still in the mix in the CAA. There's 3 2-1 teams and 3 1-2 teams in that league. And so if you're anybody in that conference, you could still make your league tournament, and you can still miss your league tournament with 2 games to go. So Towson goes to Fairfield this weekend. One of the other teams that's at 2-1, and then they finish up at home against Hofstra on the last weekend of the month. Win both, and they'll be the number 1 seed. Lose both, and they could very easily miss the tournament. So a lot going on there for the Tigers as they head into the last 2 weekends of their season, regular season.
Anything else on the lacrosse front that stands out to you?
UMBC's picked up a couple victories now.
Yeah.
They beat Albany and then handled UMass Lowell on the road like they were supposed to. They get Stony Brook at home on Saturday. They're basically in good shape to make the conference tournament. They have NJIT waiting next Friday, a team that hasn't won a game yet this season. So UMBC's probably going to find its way into the America East tournament, but it could find its way into the tournament on a roll if it can win these last 2 home games. And it's not like they've been at home a whole lot this season. I think this is only going to be their 4th home game of the year. So the Retrievers playing a little bit better after having gotten drubbed pretty good by Vermont there a few weeks back.
All right, he is Patrick Stevens. He's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Patrick, I got a bunch of different messages about this, and I don't know how to apply context to it. Sam Sessoms, who averaged 12 points a game a year ago at Penn State, has decided to transfer to Coppin State. And, my knowing nothing about the player and his story and his situation, my reaction is kind of similar to what everybody else's reaction was, which is, wow, you don't see that every day. You don't see a guy who's averaging double digits in the Big Ten decide to come to the MEAC in a place like Coppin State. Is it was Sam Sessoms that caliber of player? Was he playing over his head in a transition situation at Penn State? What did you make of hearing that Sam Sessoms was going to come to Coppin State?
Well, let me tell you what he did at Binghamton.
Okay.
In 2 seasons. Okay, in 2 seasons at Binghamton, he averaged 18.6 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 4.1 assists.
Okay, I take that.
Okay,
Yeah.
He also averaged 3.9 turnovers and 16.1 field goal attempts per game.
Okay, so yeah.
So he is a guy. That you're going to put the ball in his hands, and you're going to live. You're going to live with both the good and the bad.
Yeah, you're going to live or die. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Now he shot 42% from 3 last year.
You take that, my God.
Which you would absolutely take.
Yeah.
He was at Binghamton in 2 years. He was a 34% 3-point shooter. So let's split the difference there and say you're getting a high 30s 3-point shooter. That's the sort of guy that's going to fit in well with Juan Dixon's system. Now I don't know how much of a plus or a minus he's going to be at the defensive end, but if you're sitting here trying to figure out, well, Coppin's just lost Jesse Zarzuela. They've had some guys in the portal. You need some sort of high-volume shooter. Well, this is a high-volume shooter who can score a bunch of points. I would anticipate that Sam Sessoms, assuming, he ultimately it does end up at Coppin and all this stuff, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
There is a wild, wild west element to, the portal coming and going and all this. But let's suppose that he is in a Coppin State uniform at the start of next season. I think he's going to put up some pretty good numbers, but you're also going to have to live with some missed shots and some turnovers along the way.
That all of that sounds about right, and it sounds like a player that might well have made a decision based on the opportunity to have volume, right?
That is exactly how I kind of size it up. Now, I think he'll be good. I think he'll be, he in the America East, he was a first or second all-conference type of guy, and I would expect in the MEAC that he'll be a first or second all-conference team type of guy next season. I think it's a good pickup for Coppin, but I do think too that you're looking at a guy that, as a sophomore at Binghamton, averaged 17.3 shots a game. So that's somebody that is going to get theirs.
Yep.
One way or the other.
Correct. Whatever the shot, there is not a shot he doesn't like, is what you're saying.
I tend to think that there isn't. Although, like I said, the 2-point percentage over the course of his career at Binghamton, it was 49.1%. That's not as good as you'd want it to be, but it's not bad.
No.
So, I think ultimately how many shots he takes. And he was also averaging 35 minutes a game at Binghamton too. So it's not like he wasn't on the floor. It wasn't like he was just going out and taking 10 shots in the first 2 minutes he was on the floor. But I do think that is a high usage, high volume player for Coppin to be picking up. But you can go get a guy that's averaged 18.5 points in a one-bid league for over 2 seasons. That's probably going to serve you well.
I don't think it can hurt at that level. I think you're right about that. And then the other player movement thing that I had a couple people ask me about, and I think it's just because he became a darling during the NCAA tournament, and when people heard he was going to go somewhere, I think they thought that Doug Eddard would go somewhere, but that's not Bryant. I think they thought that he would parlay his fame into sort of a high major level, but as far as the actual type of player that he is, and not just someone that was able to get some commercial deals because he's got a mustache, is that the more appropriate place for someone like that to be?
Yeah, I mean Bryant's moving into the America East, so a slight upgrade over the NEC. Remember, the nation's leading scorer last season, Peter Kiss, played at Bryant.
That's right.
And they made the NCAA tournament. And it should be noted that Bryant has been quietly one of the big winners of the transfer portal so far. They picked up Chauncey Hawkins from St. Francis, Brooklyn. They picked up what was his name? Sharif Kenny from LaSalle went there. They also got Antoine Walker, a former Georgetown player from Rhode Island, and then Earl Timberlake.
Wow!
Started his career at Miami, gone to Memphis, and just committed to Bryant the other day.
I totally missed that.
So yeah, it just happened.
Okay.
So Bryant has, they made the tournament. They're going into a new league. They score a fair bit. It seems like a fairly logical type of place to land, and he's going to play. This kind of goes back, to sort of double back on the Sessoms idea. Like you're going to play.
Yep.
So. And it's a guy who can shoot some threes and will make them even more dangerous as they head into their new league. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to dethrone Vermont immediately, but I think they're going to be an immediate contender in that conference, and Eddard's certainly somebody that's going to help them along the way with that.
And further competition for UMBC in that league. It makes all the sense in the world. All right, it's time for our game. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB teams that this particular player has played for? I just happened to look at the list and pick 2 whose names were right next to each other, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. They were just 2 names that I saw. So the first one, a catcher, someone who was just an all-star once, but he won his fair share of World Series titles in his career. 4 teams for Joe Girardi, the current manager of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, Joe Girardi was a Chicago Cub.
Yes.
And he was a New York Yankee.
Most certainly.
And he was a Colorado Rocky.
He was indeed.
And did he close it out in St. Louis?
He most certainly did. 4 for 4. Oh, now I got to reconsider because I think my other one was easier. You know what? I'll go a different way. You up for a tough one?
Sure.
All right, 4 teams for someone who was a closer and was a 3-time All-Star and did win a World Series. But the bulk of his career was in one spot. 4 teams for Eric Gagne.
Okay. Well, the bulk of his career was with the Dodgers.
Most certainly.
And I believe he was in Colorado too.
No,
wasn't he?
it wasn't Colorado.
Really?
No.
Gosh.
I might have gone a little too tough.
You might have gone a little too much here.
I've gone a bit too far with Eric Gagne.
I mean, because there wasn't anything before the Dodgers, right?
No, it was the Dodgers from 99 to 06, and then he split 07. For some reason, I remember one of these stops, and then 08. And I based on one of the hints that I gave you already, you should be able to get one of them.
Oh, I guess I wasn't really listening close
enough. I said he was
I
said he was a World Series champion.
Oh, he was a World Series champion.
Yeah.
Was he in Boston then?
Yes, he was. I don't remember that at all, but he was in Boston in 07. I have no recollection of him as a Red Sox.
Am I vaguely remembering him? I've got a couple teams in mind here.
Okay.
So I'll name the second one after like the last formal guess.
Okay.
I feel like he might have been the closer du jour for 2 weeks in Milwaukee.
He most certainly was a closer du jour in Milwaukee in 08. You are 1,000%.
Okay, and Atlanta was the other one.
No, it wasn't Atlanta. This is actually the one for some reason I remember. It was Texas. Texas was the other spot for Eric Gagne. I did not remember Boston or Milwaukee, but for some reason I remembered Texas because they signed him to a pricey deal after L.A., and it did not work out for them.
No.
It did not work out at all. All right, so Georgetown Loyola tonight. What else is on the docket for you this week, sir?
Going to do 2 games again on Saturday. UMBC Stony Brook.
Okay.
Getting a look at the Retrievers in the early game on Saturday.
Oh, and then the big one. Yeah, right.
And then 6 o'clock, Maryland and Hopkins at Homewood to see if Maryland can close out a perfect regular season and if Hopkins can maybe pull a surprise here after picking off Penn State.
There's something. This goes back to like the history of Maryland. There's just something about this that feels like it's a prime spot for Hopkins to stun the world and figure out a way to win this game in front of what will be a massive crowd at Homewood Field on Saturday evening.
And it should be a gorgeous day too. Apparently,
nice.
It's apparently going to get into the 80s this weekend.
Everything about
perfect
that.
Timing.
It will be. You know what? Maybe there's a chance that I will come join you over there at Homewood Field on Saturday because I only have an afternoon game myself. So that might be the case. At Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter is how you follow him. Of course, USA Lacrosse Magazine, The Washington Post. Patrick Stevens, always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Thanks so much as always, Glenn.
That's Patrick Stevens. He does that every Tuesday, talking college sports with us here on GCR. All right, hour number 1 of the program is in the books. Today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today. When we come back in, Grayson Rodriguez. You familiar with that name? You should be. Can't imagine why you wouldn't be. He's going to join us next. This is Glenn Clark Radio.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets with Glenn Clark and Paul Valley every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Bruce Billick and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and even a few winners. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Baseball is back, and so is the spring seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. Start with the opener, flash-fried pork belly with our popular Korean No. 2 sauce, and take a bite out of the Crunch Burger, topped with home run sauce, white American cheese, and house-made chips. It also features irresistible options like a baseball-cut sirloin with blue cheese, grilled shrimp with garlic butter, and a strawberry salmon salad. And then there's the closer, the Cracker Jack Sundae with a waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jack. This menu will be gone at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com to find out more. Great food, good sports.
Baseball is back. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
You can find us live every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon talking all things Orioles and Major League Baseball.
Like the debuts of Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez.
And how the rotation and bullpen are rounding into form. Watch us live at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and facebook.com/PressBoxSports.
Or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio.
That's the Bat Around, live with the latest in baseball coverage every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon.
We can't imagine why you'd want to, but you can watch GCR live. It's at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And try to guess whether these guys are wearing any pants.
We are 9 days out from the first round of the NFL Draft, and the place to be is the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Come join the NFL Chicks, Sarita Hubbard and I. We will be there hanging out with you. We'll have great giveaways. We got lots to do. It's going to be a tremendous night in the FanDuel Sportsbook. And it's the best live betting event of the year because it's structured, right? Like you can just walk up to their 61 self-service kiosks and bet literally every pick of the draft. And there's a lot of props, and we're going to talk about some more of those later on today on Simply the Bets. There's a lot of props that are available, but you can literally just keep going up every pick and make the next bet during the course of the draft. It gets trickier as the weekend goes on because, like, the TV falls behind the picks as they're actually being made, and so, like, you want to go bet the next pick, but they already have to freeze it because we already know what the next literally 2 picks are in the draft. So it gets a little bit tricky as the weekend goes on, but for that first round, it's delightful. You're going to want to be in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel for the NFL Draft. Come hang out with us. And for those of you that have asked about whether or not we're going to be doing a show, unfortunately on Thursday night there won't be a show because we got to do the event at Live Casino and Hotel. But we are going to work on trying to do a Saturday recap show, late afternoon-ish, at the end of the draft that'll involve Ken and maybe some other personalities. We're working on the details of that right now to see if we can't pull it off. I'm sorry we won't be able to do. I know everybody loves the draft show because you get to catch us losing our minds about something and the immediate reaction that comes with it. If you want that, you'll still be able to get it. You just got to come join us in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. I don't know what that noise just was. That was concerning. I hope I'm not about to start yakking. That was me.
That was you.
Me.
I thought
something
Cass
happened.
didn't eat again.
Something
That was
happened.
not me.
Something happened in the in here. I don't know what it was exactly. But, yeah, that's what's going on. That's the story for the NFL Draft. We will be there in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. All right. Grayson Rodriguez scheduled to join us here in just a second as he is at Norfolk, where he is off to a dominant start. I have had people ask, like, hey, at what point, if he just dominates like this, do you say the hell with it and bring him up? I guess my first question would be, why in a rush? And I know that the answer is because you don't have any pitching. Okay, I get it. But I mean more like, what does it matter? This isn't a good – they're not a Grayson Rodriguez away from being relevant. You know what I mean? So I start with that. I don't know, and we're going to ask him what the individual goals are. So if there are goals that he's looking to meet, then I would say you wait, and once you've met those goals, as soon as you get to that point, you call him up.
I think that they are trying to ramp him up. Right, he went from 61 pitches in 4 innings to 67 pitches in 5 innings. I expect him to stay right around the 70, 75 pitch mark
The
in
question,
5 innings.
the question people still have is what happens the third time around in the order.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's been the question that's been asked of some scouts and people around baseball is, hey, like we still haven't seen him go a third time around the order. So I would say I would like to get closer to a place where he could go a third time around the order before they consider it. I want you to go ahead and I know I'm assuming he's supposed to be calling us, but if you want to go ahead and try to give him a call, you can do that. So that's what I would think. And again, I don't know, and we'll ask him. I don't know exactly what the story is, but that's what my gut tells me about what the story might be in terms of Grayson Rodriguez and when it is that the Orioles would bring him up. I'm not in a rush. I know it's a different conversation for Kyle Bradish and when he might be available and the fact that he's made more starts and he's been at AAA for a while and he's pitching incredibly well. I could certainly see an argument for why it is that, you might want to do that a little bit sooner than later, that you would not be needing to wait quite as long for someone like Kyle Bradish. I'm guessing that means that there's something going on.
It went straight to his voicemail.
All right. Well, why don't you message John and see what the story is there, and we'll go from there. So I don't want to have this hold up. In the meantime, until Grayson Rodriguez calls in, I'm going to switch things back over to Cass for Cass's top 5 for this week. Cass's top 5 is brought to you this week by the Pressbox print issue. Oh, today's the final day. This is it. Speak now or forever hold your peace. That's it. Tomorrow, the new issue hits newsstands. You want this one, you got to go get it now. This is the print issue of Pressbox with Gary Williams on the cover, celebrating the 20th anniversary of Maryland's men's basketball's national championship in 2002. Again, you want it. You got to get it now or it's gone. G-O-N-E, gone. It's available at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox, or read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. Print issue of Pressbox available now. All right, Cass.
Okay, so my top 5 is my top 5 athletes.
So these are your top 5 favorite athletes?
Yeah, like
Okay.
of all time.
Okay, of all time?
Yeah.
Like forever?
Mm-hmm.
There's no qualifications to this whatsoever. There's no like, hey, I didn't even consider golfers. This is any sport anywhere.
Any sport.
Your top 5 athletes of all
Mhm.
time. Male or female?
Male or female.
Okay.
There's no restrictions.
All right.
Okay, so number 5.
So Joey Chestnut is number 1.
Yeah.
He's the greatest
How
champion
did
of
you
our time.
know?
Well, he better be. He better be number 1. He's the greatest
Crazy
champion
that
of all
you read
time.
my mind.
It's
him. Yeah.
I saw something very disrespectful that was thrown. I'm trying to remember who it was. Somebody threw out a tweet that was like, this is the greatest athlete of my lifetime, and I don't even remember who it was. It might have been LeBron James, and I was like, hello? Joey Chestnut didn't die. Like, what are we doing here?
See, you may not agree with half of these, though.
Oh.
That's the thing.
Because these aren't the greatest.
No.
These are your favorites.
These are the greatest in my book.
Did Ryan
Well,
McKenna
hang on a
make your
second.
list?
Yeah, hang on.
No.
Wait. You told me these were
number 5.
These told me you wait a second. You told me earlier these were your favorites.
Yes, these are my top 5 athletes that I find like monumental. Like
Okay. All right.
they're
We'll
not
see.
like
We'll see how this goes. We'll
Okay.
see how this goes.
okay.
All right.
Okay, so number 5 is actually Suni Lee.
Oh, the gymnast.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
She's
use-
remarkable. I don't know
Mhm.
how to give it context, but she's remarkable.
No, I just like her because of like how she deals with like athletics and mental health, and just kind of like how she like had to. I mean, her teammate was Simone Biles, so it's like, you know what I mean. Like, yes, she won, but like she still gets compared because they're like, she only won because Simone Biles kind of dropped out in a
Man,
way.
she's really good.
But I think she's
like,
amazing.
she's really good.
And I just like her mindset, so she's number 5.
Okay. Did you know anything about her before the Olympics, or was it just
I knew about her college career. I don't know why I like
Auburn, right?
gymnastics.
Is
I
that-
think so,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know why I like gymnastics so much, but I'll watch it. Like me and my mom, that's probably like our favorite.
I always get in trouble. I don't like judging sports.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a female male thing. It's not I just don't like any sport that involves judging, because like
Right.
I just feel like there's too much room for something to be, subjective in there.
No, I agree.
So that's my issue with it. And it doesn't mean that I don't know that it's amazing. Like, it's absolutely amazing. It's incredible what it is. that
Also,
she's
it's
doing.
like, yes, gymnastics is a team sport, but like it's so individual that like I can't really relate to that. And I like
Mhm.
how she like when you're a gymnast, like it's all the hours you put in.
Okay.
Like it's like by
All right.
yourself. So like
All right.
I just like that.
All right.
Number 4, I know I'm gonna get eyes on this one. Would have to be Tony Romo.
What?
Yep. I'll say
Okay,
it again.
okay,
With
okay.
pride.
She's a Cowboys fan.
No, but
No,
she's
it's
not.
no, okay.
She's
hold it there. I am a Cowboys
She's
fan.
a Cowboys / Commanders /
I am not a Commanders fan.
Whenever you feel like putting on a sweatshirt, you
It's
are.
vintage.
It's vintage.
It's
Your mind's
different.
it's vintage.
No, I think I'll stick by that. I grew up and I wearing a Tony Romo jersey. Every day was like Jersey Day at school, and I got absolutely like obliterated by people because I'd wear it. But like genuinely, I think he's one of the most underrated football players of all time. I think that he deserved so much more than what he got.
Man.
And I think he's one of the best commentators for
Well,
football.
I agree with that. I think he's a very good
smart.
commentator.
I think his mindset is
we
great.
agree on that. I think he was like the 8th best quarterback of his era. Now what happened? Okay, but the problem being he played in a great era for quarterbacking. If he had played in a different era, he might have been. But like he was playing against Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers and the list goes on. He was crossed with Russell Wilson in there too. Like. It just was such a golden era for quarterbacking that someone who in another era was a damn good quarterback was just a good quarterback
But
in
if
that
you
era.
look what he did for the Cowboys in his era,
Played really well.
He did amazing.
Nobody's debating the
So,
fact that he put
Tony
up numbers.
Romo,
He played well.
love
All right.
him.
This
Respect.
is some
Hell of a
This
golfer.
is some nonsense. This list is. I was with you on Suni Lee. This list. You went from like
No.
someone who's truly great and stands out to someone who was just good. Just good.
No.
Just good.
Sorry.
He was never one of
Beg
the.
to
He was
differ.
never one of the 3 best players at his position at any point in his career.
That's an opinion.
It is an opinion.
And it's an
but
invalid one.
Okay, you tell me at what point he was one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football. Yeah, exactly. Move on to number 3.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Number 3,
I do like some of your other opinions, like where you go to get your chicken now. I do like that. I do
yeah.
like that's a good opinion. This is a dumb opinion.
Thank you. Really appreciate that one. Number 3, he was going to be number 2, but in 2018 he left Barca and ruined the midfield.
Oh, I've
so
never
now I'm
forgiven him for that.
Very pissed.
Yeah.
It's Iniesta.
Oh, okay.
One of my favorite
All right.
midfielders of all
It's a
time.
random.
No, I love him. I think he's one of the best. I grew up watching
Doesn't mean
him.
it's not random.
It's not random. He's one of the top-rated
But no,
players
when
of all
people
time.
talk about the greatest soccer players of all time, he's
Ronaldo, Messi.
well. I mean, those are of modern times. Yes, those are the ones that come very near the top.
Neymar.
Yes, he's very much up there. I don't know if you've heard Kylian Mbappe. You familiar?
Yes.
He's okay. He's been all right. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He's been okay. Iniesta's a hell of a player, though. I'm not going to disagree with
Like
that.
I like the OG Barca team where it was like all of them, and now they all left, and it's not the same.
Ah,
And when Iniesta left, it like
Sucks.
ruined the midfield, and I'm just like upset about it. Now I don't even watch
Sucks.
Barca anymore.
all right. Next.
Love him. Number 2 would have to be Julie Ertz, and I put a little.
Oh, you love
slash of-
you love Julie Ertz. You love Julie
I
Ertz.
do.
We were talking about Julie Ertz being pregnant last week, and Cass, I'm not kidding, nearly broke into tears.
Yeah.
Like, she's that emotional talking about Julie Ertz.
I was really hurt too because I didn't know she
hell
was
of a player,
pregnant.
by the way. She's a
Yeah.
hell of a player.
Best one of my favorite. She is my favorite female player of
Okay.
all time.
Interesting.
Like I read her book. I have her book. I think the way she writes is amazing about her story and like her and Zach Ertz's story, which I'm a big Zach Ertz fan. I put a slash. He's there too.
You like everyone in the NFC East? What is wrong with you?
Leave me
What is
alone.
wrong with you?
Leave me alone.
I know. I guess he's not in the division anymore, but he was
No.
forever.
Well, because think about it, they're having a baby. They've had to live in different housing, like
Yeah,
because they're
yeah,
not
they
in the
have-
same
They
city.
have their own careers. They
and
have their
she's
own-
moving, and so is he. So they're gonna try to get into a similar city. So
It's
they
a
don't-
very modern story, like the idea of like we're in love and we're not going to let space or distance define.
They have to
Like,
sacrifice a lot. They're
oh,
so
she is
cute.
going to start crying
No,
again.
I
not.
missed the name.
It's Julie Ertz.
Julie
Zach
Ertz and
Ertz,
Zach
yeah,
Ertz.
the former Julie Johnson.
Oh, gotcha.
Julie
Yeah.
Johnson, yeah.
Now Julie Ertz. Yes.
Yeah, she's amazing. I
Well,
met
she's
her.
she's an incredible.
I was
player.
in tears when I met her.
Wow.
I pushed
Wow.
children to meet her.
Okay, now we got to
Good
talk
Lord.
about that.
All right,
we got to
George.
I
gets
was-
we got to
kicked
talk
over here.
about that.
I was at a Washington Spirit game.
But did you actually
no,
push
like
children?
if my mother was
Cass.
here, like if
Cass.
she was here,
That's
she'd
not,
be like, yes.
That's not okay.
Okay, I deserve
That's
it
not
too. I was a child once. Like, just because you're 6 doesn't mean you deserve it more than I do. You're not even going places. Like, you're 6. You play in rec level. Like, that's not fair. I grew up. I deserve it too.
And I play at Stevenson University.
Yeah, nobody knows what that is, but it matters.
It's a big deal. I drive a Dodge Stratus.
Yeah.
I'm a big deal.
It's a big deal. I literally pushed. I really felt bad. I really did.
Well,
The
you
stare
should.
from the
Well,
mom.
yeah, you definitely you definitely should feel
I
bad
got
about
her
that.
and Megan Klingenberg, who's an
Well, she's
amazing
a nice player, too.
I love
She's a
Megan
nice player, too.
Klingenberg.
It reminds me one time, Forrester. We went to a Butler basketball game when Brad Stevens was the coach out at Hinkle Fieldhouse in the legendary building in Indianapolis. And I swear to God, the end of the game, we're looking around. We're like, "Where is Drew?" And we find him. He has walked down to where the team will walk by in order to get to the locker room, and a 50-year-old man has stuck his hand out to get a high five from the coach. He's 50 years old, and he's leaning in for a high five from Brad Stevens as he goes back into the locker room. Like, yeah, that's about right. That's about right. And number 1 on your list.
I don't know if you're gonna know who she is, but her name is Joanna Lohman.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
She's been, I told you before she's been on this
That's
show.
right. You
Yeah.
did say that. Yeah, my all-time favorite. Love
Okay.
her.
I mean, like, that's definitely very personal. That's
It's a
that's
personal-
not a
oh, no,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
right. That's a
personal one.
personal
That's 'cause
thing.
I met
Not to say
her.
she's not a nice player.
No,
She's a
no,
very
no,
nice
yeah.
player, but you know,
It's just because I met her and like
she's
the
very
things
cool.
that happened.
She's a very remarkable person. I
Yes.
agree with that.
Agreed.
An interesting list.
Mhm.
An interesting. It was definitely favorites more than it was
Yeah.
greatest.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but you were kind of trying to make it seem like
They
you
are
were-
the greatest,
Yeah, you were
especially
trying to,
Tony
you were trying to
Romo.
do that.
He
Tony
is the
Romo.
greatest of
What's
all
wrong
time.
with you?
Tom
All right,
Brady,
that's
who is
Cass.
he?
She gets her chicken at Royal Farms because
I
she's
do.
smart. Her family now knows. They have been indoctrinated into the Rofo family. Nice job. That was a good list. Thank you, Cass.
Thank you.
All right, that's Papa Cass's top 5. We do it every week. It's time for us to make our first trip of the season to Norfolk to chat with a member of the Tides. And we've had a lot of conversations with this man over the years. And my God, what a start he is off to this season. He is, of course, the top pitching prospect in all of baseball. He's Grayson Rodriguez, and he's with us once again here on GCR. Grayson, it's Glenn and Paul in Baltimore. It's always good to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for having me on.
Well, you know where we got to start. You know the first thing we have to ask about. Has the basketball game happened? Have we gotten the formal competition to actually define who truly is the best basketball player among all of the top prospects in this system?
Not yet.
What are we waiting for?
Well, right now we got to make sure everybody's completely healthy.
All
first,
right,
and,
I guess that's true.
We all we're in the big leagues before that happens, but no, it's coming soon.
All right, it's got to happen so we can finally put all this to rest. Because the rest of these guys are going to continue talking smack throughout the year. You know that, like, Henderson and them. Because I remember last year you said you and Adley, the two of you together, would defeat any pair. Any other two guys in the system, there's no way that they could beat you, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, DL and Gunner think they have a chance, but they don't at all. It's not even close.
Hey, man, the start that you're off to this season, and I know, this is all you've ever done is just be really good, but now you're at a level where you're facing major league hitters. How good has it felt for you? Is there anything that's different, or is it just I'm doing the same things I've been doing for the last few years?
For me, it's kind of a lot of, doing the same thing, attacking hitters the same way. Now, in terms of what they're trying to do is different. Like, you get guys ambushing certain pitches, or, they're taking a fastball right down the middle because they thought you were throwing a changeup. It's a lot of like guessing, I would say, but in terms of them hitting their pitch, they're a lot better at it. Unlike lower level guys, they're not going to miss what they're looking for, if that makes sense.
Has that helped? I know you. You're a confident guy in general, but has it given you an even additional level of confidence that, like, no, I'm ready. I know if I can get guys that are legitimately major league hitters out at this rate, it's maybe not facing the best hitters in the world, right? But like, what additional confidence has it given you to do this at this level?
Yeah, it's huge. Seeing those older guys, facing some guys that you've seen on TV before, knowing that you can get them out, that they're just, another player on the field with you. It gives a pretty big level of confidence. Hopefully we can keep it rolling into this next third start.
He is Grayson Rodriguez. He is with us as we make our first trip of the season down to Norfolk to chat with the Tides. Grayson, the idea, do you have specific goals that you had for this final stop in the process? Were there things that going into this year you said,
I want to tick off these boxes before I make my major league debut?
Yeah, I mean, that's something, you kind of go into every season with is a little list of goals. And every year since 2019, I've said to stay healthy. That's the most important thing.
Sure.
Listen to your arm, make sure that you can get through a season clean. So obviously that's the first priority. The second is to go out and to get better each and every day. That's something that the minor leagues is for, to develop. You show up to not necessarily win ball games, but to get better as a player, ultimately to make it to the big leagues.
There are people that will still say, hey, we'd like to see Grayson face a lineup a third time around to see what he does. Is that something that could be coming before? I know it's been smaller pitch counts the first couple times out, but is that something that you'd like to do before you get to the major league level? Is it something that you are not as worried about as everybody else, and I say everybody else, but a minority of people are, just because you know the kind of stuff you have?
Yeah, so that's something I'm going to be able to do this year. Obviously, it's my third start coming up, so technically I'm still on a build-up program and under a pretty tight pitch count. But here in the next month or two, it's going to open up fully. We're going to go into as deep of a ball game as we can go to, like it would be a big league game. Last year the 5 innings limit, I think I only went 6 innings one time. That's kind of tough because not playing in 2020 for the COVID year, nobody had a regular season. Obviously, you saw in the big leagues with a lot of teams, a lot of pitchers were getting hurt. So that was something the Orioles really kind of put an emphasis on with our pitchers, was to just make sure everybody made it through healthy, not putting any kind of too much weight on anybody's shoulders. But this year, it's more of a normal season after having a good season last year. So we're going to be opened up fully here pretty soon.
Is there a goal number that you want to? I want to have pitched this number of pitches in a game again before you make that first major league start.
Back in 2019, in my first season, we would have a pitch limit of 100 pitches.
Okay.
So it'd be nice to get back up there, a few times before stepping onto that big league field in Camden Yards. But like I was saying, hopefully you don't ever get to a game where you reach 100 pitches. You want to be a little more efficient than that. But yeah, that's what we're.
I was about to say, we rarely see major leaguers throw 100 pitches these days. You almost have to be in the middle of a perfect game, and even then they kind of pull you out anymore at this point as you get closer to 100 pitches. Grayson Rodriguez is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. I want to tell you about a couple things that are going on with the Tides. They are back home this week, so if you are headed down that way, and the weather is supposed to be great this week, big event coming up on Saturday as they celebrate. They're going to be the Los Pajaritos de Norfolk for the Copa de Diversion series. I don't know if I got that right or not, but I'm pretty sure that's correct, on Saturday, and that'll also include fireworks. And then Sunday, the first Bark in the Park event, where dogs are allowed to come to Harbor Park, and proceeds go to a local dog charity, Refugees Foundation. So a couple of great events this week as the Norfolk Tides are home. Grayson, we have talked, you and I, about the pressure, right, and the attention that you've gotten since you've arrived, but that has amplified even more over the last year as you're identified by everybody as the top pitching prospect in baseball. Has any of that impacted you in any way? Are you completely able to block that type of attention out, the demands for interviews, all of that sort of stuff? Have you figured out a way to handle that type of attention so it doesn't impact you in any sort of way?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't pay much attention to it. Like I've said in the past, coming up through high school and stuff, I've kind of been on both sides of the prospect rankings, if you'll call it. It's somebody's opinion. Necessarily back in 2018 in the draft, a lot of people didn't think I was going to go where I went.
Yeah.
Or they didn't think I was good enough to go 11th overall. Now you kind of see the flip side of that. And really, nobody knows anything about your career. So it's just another label, I guess you could say. And, really it only matters what you do on the field. Twitter and Instagram and whatever you want to read. That's all fun and stuff. I think it's more for the fans than it is the players. But, I just go out every fifth, sixth day and, pitch the game, throw what I do and, just keep it rolling.
I got to ask you, our buddy Eric Garfield tweeted out a pitch that you throw in the Rail Riders game in the 4th inning in a 1-1 count, and he called it a 12-6, and I couldn't agree more. The drop on this ball was just absolutely insane. Is that something that you've always had in your arsenal, and because we just don't get to watch every game, we maybe don't get to see it? Is that something that's maybe even improved as you've continued to work on all of your various pitches?
Yeah, so that's something that I've kind of, been messing around with. Like as you know that the Orioles now, we have a lot of tools in our pitching lab,
Yeah.
Howard pitchers. So really it's the same curveball, the same grip, and I'm able to manipulate my hand positioning. So if I want to throw a 12-6, I can throw a 12-6, or if I want to throw more of a true curveball, I can do that. So really just kind of, reading swings, kind of figuring out what to do with it. But yeah, I'm able to kind of adjust it and tweak it as I go along. Everything's the same, but like I said, the wrist position's a little bit different, and that creates the different view of the break, you could say.
Were you as excited the first time you threw that pitch as we are when we see you throw that pitch? Like, we're nerdy Orioles fans, and so like when we see that, we're like, oh my God. The first time you threw it, were you like, damn, this is cool? Or was it more like, no, this is the work? Does that not phase you in any way doing something like that?
It's kind of cool there at first, but really as a pitcher, you're not trying to see your pitches break because, that's kind of the wrong, mindset.
That's fair. Okay.
To go
all right.
in with. But yeah, really, as long as you get the ball to spin the way it needs to and your body in the right position, you can make the baseball do some pretty nasty things.
Are there any other, if we went into your golf bag at this point, is there anything else that we still might be seeing at some point that you're still working on that you're like, and maybe you'd say, hey, I don't really want to give that away, but like, is there anything else you're still toying with that you could add to your repertoire?
No, not right now. It's just a classic 4-pitch mix with a cutter. So it's fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, and a cutter that we started going to quite a bit. But yeah, nothing too crazy.
They're all pretty good, man. Like they are all really good, and we can't wait to see them at the major league level. Grayson, what's life look like for you? These last couple years have been so crazy. Like, are you able to actually like have fun? Did you get back? Did you get to do any hunting in the off season? Like, what was the off season like for you? As like the world has finally kind of gotten back to normal a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was a great off season. Obviously being around your friends and family back home, it's a lot of fun. Getting to be outside a lot, do a lot of hunting, fishing. Back with my dog. I've got a German short-haired pointer that.
How big?
He's 65 pounds.
Okay, all right.
So he's on the smaller side for the breed, but a lot of energy. He's a lot of fun to hang out with, and my parents when I first got him, they were like, "You're not leaving that dog with us during the season," and now they love him more than I do. So
wait.
They're begging me not to take him away from them.
I was going to say, so when you get to Baltimore and like you get settled and presumably, you get some sort of place here, is there going to be like a real fight over whether or not the dog can come with you?
I think so. I think they're going to make it tough, but yeah, he'll be wherever I go.
Do you maybe like work out a deal like, hey, maybe you guys will just have to come spend more time in Baltimore at that point?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right? Like, that's a pretty good thing to hold over their heads. Like, hey, you can spend as much time with the dog as you want as long as you're here. That's the way it's got to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty
Absolutely.
Good. What's the dog's name?
Ace.
Ace. Well, come on, dude. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard. That is perfect. That's exactly what I would want Grayson Rodriguez's dog to be named. That is, yeah.
You get it from the baseball side, but
yeah.
Really it's because Ace Ventura. That's one of my favorite movies.
Really?
With Jim Carrey. So and his personality kind of fits that too.
Dude, were you even alive when Ace Ventura came out? Like, I got to do the math on this.
No, I don't know. That's a movie I've been watching for a while, and it gets me laughing every time.
Okay, hang on. So like when I was young, like just repeating Ace Ventura lines and trying to do the voice was all that I did with my friends. Are you the type that like does that at some point and your friends look at you like, dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never seen that movie.
No.
Okay.
I can't really do a good impression.
All right. That's a
yeah,
That's a bummer because I kind of wanted to hear it. That's a bummer in that case. Grayson Rodriguez, man, it's always great to catch up with you, and we are always happy to see. I don't know what else to say other than, man, this is unbelievable. Getting to watch you pitch, it's so much fun. It's such a joy. And I know Orioles fans are want to get down to Norfolk. When's your start this week? Wednesday. So it's a heck of a haul to get down there tomorrow, but I would do it because it is worth seeing Grayson Rodriguez pitch. That is the case. As always, man, appreciate at G_Rodriguez16 on Twitter. Remind me if you're on Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram is just Grayson.Rodriguez16.
Grayson.Rodriguez16. Give him a follow there. Grayson, appreciate you taking the time for us as always this morning, dude. Let's do it again soon. Thank you for chatting with us. All right.
Yeah. Thank you all very much.
It's Grayson Rodriguez, top pitching prospect in all of baseball, of course, checking in with us here on GCR. Appreciate him doing that. And again, you're going to want to get down to Norfolk this week. Enter the week ranked in second in the International League in on-base percentage, and they got the fourth best ERA. We know there are some bats that are going crazy right now. There's a lot to like about the Norfolk Tides roster at the moment, and hopefully we'll be seeing some of those guys, the Kyle Stowers of the world, here in Baltimore in the coming days. You want to give our buddy Jerry a call real quick? Yeah. I told him we'd be calling him late this morning. We're getting ready for Simply the Bets this morning, as that's coming up in just a few minutes. Appreciate Grayson Rodriguez taking the time for us. Today's show is also brought to you by your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, where they got the spring seasonal menu available for you. It includes the opener, the flash-fried pork belly with the popular Korean No. 2 sauce, plus the Crunch Burger, topped with home run sauce, white American cheese, and house-made chips, plus the grilled shrimp with garlic butter, as well as the strawberry salmon salad, the baseball-cut sirloin with the blue cheese. It is all available at your neighborhood Glory Days, glorydaysgrill.com to get your order in. I have never, I've known this guy for a long time, and I've never been able to use the word colleague to describe. I don't think. I guess we were technically in the same company at the same time for a little while, but we've never been at the same place at the same time, and technically that is changing as Rita and I are launching our show on Sunday. Of course, he's already kind of stolen Rita away. We got to talk about that, as you're going to be hearing her with him during the week, including tonight on 105.7 The Fan. He is Mr. Sports with Coleman himself. He's our buddy Jerry Coleman, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, pal? How are you?
What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Everything's good. You're stealing my co-host away, like before I even started. What's that all about?
We have to hurry this up because I got bumped for
Grayson Rodriguez. Yeah, who's that guy? Yeah, right.
Rita and I were supposed to speak at 11:30. So.
Oh, all right. You can blame me. You can blame
I
me.
Will.
And
I will.
She'll
Don't
handle
worry.
that. Hey, you must be like a pig in S right now with the playoffs going on and there being no LeBron James. Do you do anything less than like an hour a night talking about how LeBron isn't in the playoffs?
No, I mean, I've let it go because he's let it go. He's probably in Cancun or somewhere on his yacht trying to figure out how he can destroy the Lakers next year. I'm focusing on the guys that are playing, I mean, the Jordan Pooles, the Steph Currys.
Dude, I was trying to explain that last night. So you, of course, remember Paul, and he's over here with us now. And he's like, man, I'm watching Orioles baseball. I'm like, dude, that thing that the Warriors did last night where they fell behind by 10 points and didn't care because they knew that at some point they're going to be able to put Poole, Curry, Thompson, and Green all on the floor together. And when they did, it was like watching the effing Harlem Globetrotters against the Generals. It was mesmerizing watching that last night.
Well, Steph is back, as we saw last night. And, I mean, once he's back, that's dangerous for everyone else. I think it'll be interesting with Phoenix, Glenn. But, yeah, I mean, with Steph back and Draymond healthy and Clay healthy once again, and you throw in Jordan Poole, who I don't think a lot of people expected to put up the points he has, but he is a long-distance threat and takes away a lot of pressure from his teammates.
Dude, they had to leave Klay Thompson open a couple of times last night. And you just realize you're leaving one of the greatest shooters in the history of the game open because there's only so much you can do defensively against that lineup. Like, you just
got to pick your poison.
Yep.
You're right.
It's insane. It is insane. You know, I'm a huge Suns fan, Jerry, so I'm quite nervous.
Of course.
I'm quite nervous. It would be incredible we were talking about that earlier too. For the sport, a Suns Warriors Western Conference Finals, it's not got the sex appeal of some of the star players that have been in big matchups, but my God, man,
you know what we call that, Glenn? The NBA championship.
Yeah.
That's what we will
You know, you say that,
yeah.
Jerry, but I'm still nervous. After what happened a year ago, I'm still nervous that at some point Giannis can just say, right, I'm physically different than all of you, and I'm just going to take over every basketball game and score 50 points and have triple-doubles. He can shoot now, too, Giannis can, which makes him really scary to me. I'm still nervous about that.
That is the only team in the East that I think has a chance, and I agree. I think they will represent the Eastern Conference. He's on a different level. As long as he stays out of foul trouble, and frankly, he doesn't need to bring the ball up the court. I'm not understanding that offense where he's bringing the ball up the court, trying to facilitate things. It exerts way too much energy and also can lead to a lot of foul trouble.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point. He's Jerry Coleman, Sports with Coleman on 105.7 The Fan. Jeremy says not really going to be all that much hazing from him when I arrive this weekend. I assume, are a little bit different. Am I going to have to foot the bill for something? Is this going to be like the way you treat rookies on a football team? How's this going to work now that I'm coming over there to hang out with you
Well, you're
guys?
not really a rookie.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than a
treat the
traditional
board
rookie.
Than the producers that way.
Okay.
Usually it's not
Okay.
so much guys that have been around town for, 10, 15, 20 years. I don't usually treat that way, but I don't even know how much, frankly, I'm going to be able to see you. You're welcome anytime to come in, but you're going to be there on a Sunday.
That's
and
true.
I don't know if I'm going to see you, but if you want to, leave some food or something in a special place.
Yeah, you wouldn't
a few
mind.
hiding spots.
Yeah, making like a nice peace offering or something like that. For those that don't remember, Drew and I used to do a bit. Jerry would text us to make fun of things we were talking about on our show while he was on another station in town. And so we would do a bit every morning on the old show where we'd be talking about something and we realized it would be something that Jerry would notice. And so we would stop and I'd look in the mic and say, "Good morning, Jerry." That would be the way that it would work. And it was just
remember that.
It was a fun thing. Do you remember the time we tried to fake a fight in the Ravens press box because we were so bored by the practice that we were watching that day? Do you remember we tried to I don't even remember how I think it was when Peter DeLutis worked for you. We tried to start some because Drew and I were just so effing bored by watching practice that day, and it was at the stadium. They were like, "What are we gonna do today? Hey, let's fight with Coleman. That'll be fun."
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's exactly what we would do.
There have been so many encounters over the years, it's hard to keep track. But that story sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So what else is going on in your world these days? You're on Cameo. I see that all the time. By the way, you're the perfect person for Cameo, by the way.
I'm great. I mean, I'm fabulous for either encouraging. You know, no one uplifts people more than me, especially guys like LeBron James or Kyrie Irving.
Super uplifting. That's what I always say about you. It's uplifting Jerry Coleman is the way that I typically...
Or Baker Mayfield. I mean, guys that I really am in love with. But I can also help bring you down if you need that, but also a belated birthday wish or a birthday wish before it comes or a bar mitzvah. I'm available to speak via Cameo. I'm not available for the actual bar mitzvah.
What else is going on in your world, man?
Just doing my thing from now 7 to 9, or 10, I should say, 7 to 9.
Yeah,
because we don't have the Orioles, and frankly, I'm fine with that. And I can say it here loud and clear. I mean, the product has been minor league in terms of the broadcasting on the television mostly.
Yeah, that's
last night they still had technical difficulties.
That's brutal, man.
The fact that they're not traveling is embarrassing. I mean, imagine how it was last night. And I have a lot of friends who call the games on radio and TV. They are frustrated, but they're sitting there in a frigid Camden Yards while it's pouring down rain, watching a game, trying to describe it 3,000 miles away. It is so nonsensical. And, of course, it's out of an abundance of COVID.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, Jerry. It's definitely about COVID precautions. That's 100% correct, and it's it's
even
just about
though the
safety.
broadcasters went to Sarasota.
What's that? Oh no, weird. That's really well. There's no COVID in Florida. Everybody knows that.
In the state of Florida, they are COVID free.
That's exactly the way
that's
that
what I'm hearing.
That's what it is, man. Give me. All right, we'll wrap with this. Something that the Ravens have to do. What's something they have to do during the course of the draft because it's still missing for them to be a team that can win the division next season?
Oh, I thought you were asking me overall. One is to just get Marquise Brown to, shut the what else up.
Wow.
Because I just don't understand the whole social media scrub and the way he feels. I'm glad he didn't join that whole wide receiver corps that thinks they're underpaid. As far as what they need to address, it's a pass rusher. We know that.
Yep.
The AFC is so much better than the NFC, and especially at quarterback. But they also have to find someone else that can help with the secondary and add some depth at cornerback, because you got two starting cornerbacks that are great, but they're both coming off injuries. So that worries me, and, of course, interior offensive line.
I said I'd be in favor. They want to trade up in order to go try to get Sauce Gardner. I'm listening, man. Like we saw what happened a year ago. Like this idea that you can't have enough good corners. Yeah, seriously, you can't have enough good corners. So get the really good one. And I don't think they're going to have 7 spots on their roster for 3rd and 4th round picks next season. I just don't think that there's any way that 7 guys that are 3rd and 4th round picks are all going to be on this team come next year. So use that ammo.
I agree. They're not going to hit on everyone. They make it seem like they're going to hit on everyone, or they at least need to. That's not going to occur. It's never occurred.
The last time they had 5 picks in the 4th round was 5 years ago. They have Tavon Young to show for it and nothing else.
Right. So trade some of those picks, like you said, and go up and get Sauce Gardner or someone else that's of value, before they're going to fall at 14. And I'm just glad the Ravens valued the draft, unlike so many teams nowadays. I still think that's a way to build your team. I still think by going for it, year after year, like the Rams have been, and I understand they've been successful. Same thing with the Buccaneers, but the Browns going for it. I mean, I just feel like they're the same old Cleveland.
I don't disagree with that. I really don't. I don't at all. And I love disagreeing with you, so that hurts me.
Well, one day we're going to talk tennis, because the only person that talks more tennis than me on the radio is you.
100%. Let's do it, man. I'm all in. Carlos Alcaraz is winning the French Open. Let's talk about that. But only you and I will be interested. Unfortunately,
only you know who he is.
That's part of the problem.
Forward to looking up his name.
There you go, buddy. At Sports W Coleman.
Nadal's still playing at the French, right?
Yeah, and look, he's always going to be a threat. He's definitely going to be a threat at the French. There's no doubt about that. And it would actually be an amazing story if he does win, because he'd end up being 2 up on Djokovic. And, there's no guarantee moving forward that Djokovic is going to keep winning these things when
ask Tiger Woods about that.
100%. All right, buddy. Sports with Coleman tonight. I hear you got a huge guest. Glenn Clark is going to be on Sports with Coleman tonight?
Only at 7:30. I'm looking at the rundown right now. No, actually 8:30.
Yeah, 8:30.
7:30 would be wrong, yes. 8:30, you're our highlighted guest, unless we just like with Grayson Rodriguez.
Right, correct. If you do better, I get it. I assure you. If you do better, I will understand, my friend. I completely
Barry Levinson's waiting in the wings, so
I've heard of him. I heard he knows a thing or two about a thing or two. All right, buddy. Love you. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you tonight, all right?
Great talking with you, and we'll do it again in a few hours.
Sounds good, buddy. It's Jerry
right,
Coleman.
105.7 The Fan. Appreciate him taking the time. Let's wrap up. We'll get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by the Baltimore Police, who are still looking for some folks who are ready to make a change and do some positive things. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police. Make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good. bpdrecruit.org.
All right, last night the Orioles didn't record their first hit until the 5th inning when Austin Hayes lined a double into right field that bounced off Seth Brown's glove on a diving attempt. It was another hapless outing for an offense that has lacked any sort of punch this season, averaging 2.2 runs per game.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's worse than baseball.
Well,
did you know that the Orioles this season have scored more
I mean, statistically it is, but stylistically there could be worse. You're not even thinking about that.
Did you know that the Orioles this season have scored more than 3 runs just twice? On Tuesday, April 12th, they lost to the Brewers 5-4, and all 4 runs came on one swing. A Cedric Mullins grand slam in the second inning.
They got all 5 in the same inning on Sunday.
Right, and that's the next
yeah.
point, all 5 in the same inning on Sunday the next day. In fact, the Orioles have struck out an AL leading 110 times, or 11 times per game this season. The team has scored 2 runs or less in 7 of 10 games. I honestly believed that the Orioles were going to be no-hit last night, given the time difference and the futility of the offense to date, and it got me thinking about how
Plus
many
that rabid opening day crowd in Oakland.
Oh, yeah, all 7,000 of them.
Yeah.
About how many times the Orioles have been no-hit. Glenn, in our lifetime, the Orioles have been no-hit 5 times. Which teams no-hit them? Bonus if you can name the pitcher.
Okay, so, Boston, both Nomo and Clay Buchholz.
That is correct. In Buchholz, it was his second start for Nomo. It was second career start for Nomo. It was his second of 2 no-hitters.
Iwakuma, correct?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't think you were going to get that one.
It was an
Iwakuma.
afternoon game in Seattle, and I remember for some stupid reason, I think maybe I was still doing the Ravens beat then. I had fallen asleep, and my phone started blowing up, and people telling me to turn it on. And I was excited, like, wow, something exciting must be going on. It was to watch the Orioles get no hits.
Yeah, I watched that at my best friend's house. It sucked.
Yeah, it
they
wasn't
lost
fun.
3-0 to the Mariners on August 12th, 2015. It was Hisashi Iwakuma. You have two left.
The others were God. I know these is the crazy part. I know these. Wilson Alvarez for sure.
Wilson Alvarez, August 11th, 1991. White Sox beat
And
the
the other
Orioles
one was
7-0.
it was a Brewers pitcher.
It
and
was.
It's a Latin name, correct?
It is.
But it's not the guy I always think it is. You just tell me because we're running
Juan
too.
Nieves.
Juan Nieves, damn it! I should have gotten that.
Glenn,
knew that.
I couldn't have done that.
I knew that.
I
knew that.
I couldn't have done Chicago 91 or Juan Nieves. I could have
Well,
done the
they
other
used
three.
to I think it was Upper Deck used to make baseball cards for every no hitter that was very unique, and I had a Wilson Alvarez Upper Deck baseball card celebrating his no hitter against the Orioles.
I thought I was going to have to give you the dates and everything. You just
No.
you didn't miss. You knocked that out of the park.
Well, I mean, I was. We don't have time. We don't have time to talk about it. Thank you. Good tidbit. Tonight, Totally Tubular, CBS Sports Network, Loyola Georgetown, 6:30 for lacrosse. Flow Sports this afternoon, Maryland Towson baseball at 3. I'm going to try to get over and watch a little bit of that. Orioles Athletics tonight at 9:40 on Masson 2. It's somebody. We think Chris Ellis against Cole Irvin. Everything else, basketball tonight, TNT Hawks Heat game 2 at 7:30, Pelicans Suns game 2 at 10, NBA TV, T-Wolves Grizzlies game 2 at 8:30. The 30 for 30 is tonight, Shark at 8:30 on ESPN about Greg Norman. Apparently does not cover the stuff with Saudi Arabia right now. It's just about his many collapses during his golf career. Anything else non-sports wise? Just a highlight or?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor at 8:30 tonight.
like
Then
that.
you have Aaron Paul is on the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, and on Netflix, White Hot: The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie and Fitch. It's a Netflix documentary.
Sure. Very good. All right. Thanks today to Grayson Rodriguez. Thanks, Jerry Coleman, Delegate Brooke Lierman, Patrick Stevens. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Archives.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Stanford D lineman and Baltimore native Thomas Booker is going to get called in the NFL draft. He will join us tomorrow. Are we making a trip to Bowie tomorrow? Is that?
We're trying to get Gunnar Henderson.
Okay, all right, that would be good. And Drew Forrester joins us tomorrow, Stuff and Things. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, the Baltimore Police, Great 8's Memorabilia, FanDuel Sportsbook, at Live Casino and Hotel, Underdog Fantasy Football, Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Cass, where are you on social media?
Instagram, Cassidy_Elizabeth22, and then Twitter, Cassidy Butler5.
By the way, her mom did confirm that story of her fight.
really?
Yeah, she messaged me, and she 1,000% confirmed what you did in order to try to meet Julia Hurts.
I don't feel bad.
Yeah,
so.
well, you shouldn't be proud either. Follow Paul at Paul Valley III on Twitter. Thanks to him. Thanks to Ryan at RexSpecs. Ryan is how you follow him. We are at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter and Instagram. Have a great Tuesday night. Go Birds. Go Loyola Lacrosse. Go Maryland or Towson baseball. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. If you're with us audio-wise, do nothing.